Welcome to another episode of Concentric Educational Solutions Podcast, one door at a time, where we have the intersection of business, education, community, and we just bring you guests to talk about their unique perspective and their journey, just in whatever endeavor or field of endeavor they may have. Today, I have the pleasure of having another wonderful guest, a young brother, entrepreneur. You're not as young as I thought anymore. Y'all getting old. But I have a special affinity, and everybody, I think, really needs to know this. Because of my upbringing, fraternity has another meaning to me. And my brothers, particularly of Epsilon chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, are very dear to me. And it takes great pleasure in seeing them being successful. And this is our fourth season. We're really talking about business. We're talking about being entrepreneurs, and that's a different lifestyle. And today I have an opportunity to interview Dio Sima. From Epsilon Chapter Star of the East, Fall 13, which is probably my last great line that I can say I had a part of your crossing, to just put it lightly. And so I want to welcome you. You've been doing a lot of great things. I'm repping the jackets. Thank you so much.
It looks good. Looks good.
Yeah, this is my thing from now on. And I just want to welcome you. Thank you for stopping by. I made a phone call last week. I said I needed you. You hopped on that train. So talk about your journey. Talk about your journey early on, even before you get to Lincoln.
Okay.
Like, what makes you you?
Okay, well, thanks for having me first.
Absolutely.
I think that's the whole part of the fraternity aspect, just being able to call a brother and I'm here for you. That's kind of how I look at it. But my journey is I always tell people I have like a pretty deep story.
Okay.
So I migrated to the U.S. when I was 11. So I came here, not speaking a word of English. So a lot of my story and upbringing is kind of based on like my father kind of coming from a third world country.
Okay.
I'm originally from Equatorial Guinea, so it's in West Africa, West Central Africa. And
you actually start early on growing up there?
Yes, I was born there, and I lived in, a lot of people don't know, but I lived in France from 3 to 11 because my father was an ambassador. So my father did a lot of work for the UN and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So, a lot of the things was, we traveled a lot growing up, so kind of I dealt with a lot of like traveling around, like, you meet a lot of friends, but you travel, you do a lot of things like that.
Yeah.
Because my father was kind of like always up and going. So my first language is actually French. People don't even know. So I went to school, elementary school, I'm fluent in French, so I went to school in France. So I moved to the US when I was 11, and I did the whole learning English, ESL. And I think a lot of those things kind of shaped me with everything I do with my brand. Okay. A lot of people if you see my brand, I play a lot with a lot of like different like globes, and society is a big part of my brand. You know what I mean? We look at society as a whole, and it's a lot of things to do with my father. Kind of my father worked for the UN and United Nations, so we think of the United Nations, you see a lot of globes, you see a lot of traveling around, and when I think of society, you think of it like just a lot of different races and different things and different aspects. So I always said growing up that I would never work in politics because my whole entire family works in politics. From my father, my brother, my uncles, everybody's in the politics world or like the UN or that kind of things. And I realized as I got older that I'm not really I'm into politics, but I didn't want to work in politics. But I mostly do it with my clothes. So I like to put a lot of like hidden messages with different things that's happening, and I think it's a good way to kind of like still leave an impact on things. So
what were some of the things what were some of the cultural differences that you experienced from growing up, particularly in France, right? And then coming over here?
Well, the biggest...
You went to New York.
Yes, 100% New York. I moved to Mount Vernon as soon as I got here. Borderline, the Bronx, Bronx and everything. The biggest thing was the language, you know what I mean? Coming to a country when nobody speak French, and like when you go to New York, Spanish is very popular. So I was going to school, and there was like a lot of other kids that didn't speak English, but most of the kids spoke Spanish. So I was like one of the kids that spoke French. It was very different a little bit. It was a little bit of like Haitian kids. I understood like, I guess the French culture, but I was I think it led me to be to myself a lot. Okay. I think I grew up and I was very introverted. But then as I got older, I think I built a brand, and then you build something bigger than you, and you're forced to be an extrovert. You know what I mean? You're forced to do a lot of things. I feel like my life, I was forced to do a lot of things out of my comfort zone, which made me who I am. I'm very happy. But I was very introverted based on like how I was raised and traveling a lot around, and then you go to a new city, you don't know people. Yep. You got to get to know those people.
You adapt real fast.
100%. So I think as I grew, I had to adapt. But like I think sports shaped me too, though. A lot of people, sports was like, I always tell people, I feel like people that play like, I don't think you got to be great in sports, but if you play childhood sports, I think it gives you a view of working with people.
But you were a half miler, right?
Yes, 100% half mile. That's my best event. I would say.
So as you go through high school and stuff like that, like how did you? Because you have a unique perspective that your father was a diplomat.
Yes.
How did you end up like choosing Lincoln? What was like some of that journey to get you to Lincoln?
Well, Lincoln was even my first choice. I did a semester upstate New York at a school called SUNY Mooresville.
Okay.
It was like a horrible experience. It was like over by Syracuse. It was cold. It was snowing.
Oh, that far north?
Yeah, it was like up north. It was like almost Canada. Not like Canada was closer to there than New York City. You know what I mean?
Oh, damn. Okay.
So it was like it wasn't as much black folks in there, to keep it real with you. So it was very different, and I came from a high school that was like all black. So when I got there, it was a learning curve. I'm keeping. I don't like the cold. I didn't like the people there. It was a little bit different. So when I did one semester there. I came back to New York City. I went to a community college. I got my grades up, and I started looking up HBCUs. And then I'm very big on history. Anybody would know me. I'm a historian. I'm very big on like finding old pictures. I'm really big on like finding just a history, how things come about and everything. And Lincoln caught my attention. I feel like I didn't know much about Lincoln, and I looked up HBCUs. You hear about Howard, Morehouse, and all those things. Yeah. But then Lincoln was the closest one to New York City. And I had a sister that went to Lincoln as well. But then when I did my research, a lot of things that caught my attention was like the first president of Ghana went to Lincoln. The first president of Nigeria went to Lincoln. You think of Nnamdi Azikiwe, Kwame Nkrumah. Then you got the Langston Hughes. You got the Thurgood Marshall. You got Horace Mann Bond. I think the Lincoln history is like, I feel like it's a hidden gem. I'm almost like, I'll be surprised if sometime I feel like you could put Lincoln alumni against almost 80 HBCUs, and I think that Lincoln would kind of like come on top. I think that's how strong Lincoln is. I just think that, I don't know, they probably don't promote it as much as they should, but the history of Lincoln got me. It was like, damn, I want to be next to those people that's doing great things, because I want to do great things in life, and I feel like it's very big to align yourself next to those kind of people. So you get to Lincoln, what are some of the things? Like what? Yeah, clearly. What are some of the things that you remember about? Well, I got to Lincoln when my mindset was going to go to Lincoln. I heard about Coach Jones. I was going to run track. Yeah. So that was my mindset. So the coach was still there. The year I got this year, he left. That was his last year. So when I got there, it was the whole transfer rule. You got to sit out a year. Yeah. So I couldn't even run. So they had me practicing, but I couldn't compete. So that had we just become D2? Yes, exactly. Okay. It was like a whole rule, and I had to sit out a year. So I think that's when. I think it was like a gift and a curse, because I wanted to practice, but I couldn't really compete. But then I ended up kind of getting involved by Lincoln. I was like, I'm not going to run anymore. I'm going to get involved, and I'm not finding about fraternities. I made some great friends. I met people like Anthony at Lincoln, all those kind of people, and those are close people that kind of shaped me. And I feel like if I ran track at Lincoln, I probably would have been more isolated with the track world. It is, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So I do think that me not being able to run track at Lincoln led me to like. And I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. I used to be like very introverted before I got to Lincoln. I was like, man, I'm going to Lincoln. Let me really step out my comfort zone. So I got to Lincoln. I was getting involved. I was president of a couple of orgs. Then when the Kappa chapter came back, I was vice president. I became president. What was your major? It was a finance major. It was fine. Yeah. So how did you like come across? Not necessarily come across. How did you decide on Kappa? Keeping it real with you, when I got to college. Everybody that know me, I'm probably like the most non-stepping, non-strolling Kappa you could think of, you know what I mean? So when I got to campus, you see the Qs, you see the Alphas, everybody strolling. And I'm like, this is cool, but it looks like very like America's Best Dance Crew, like some Stump the Yard. But I was like, I would never join any of this, because it's just not me. I'm very big on long. I know my lane. I know my comfort zone, and I don't really go outside my comfort. I don't really go outside of things that I know it's not my lane. But then I did my research, and I started to find out that it was much more than just strolling. It was like the small aspect. And the achievement is what got me. I think the achievement in every field of human endeavor is what got me, because I think it's the most diverse model of anything. You know what I mean? When I think of Kappa, I think you could be a great lawyer, you could be a great rapper, you could be a great designer. You know what I mean? I feel like achievement is anything that you're doing. You know what I mean? But we weren't on yard. We were suspended. We had just come back, right? No, we were suspended. So when I got to Lincoln 2011, there was no noops on the yard at all. Okay. And they came back in 2013. So it was a couple older bros that used to come back. And I remember I went to Morgan State homecoming in 2012. Okay. And that was like my first experience of seeing actually undergraduate noops moving and about. And I think one of the things that actually got my attention when I remember back then was a lot of the bros at Morgan weren't wearing a lot of para. Yeah. They just happened to be a lot of just cool guys that was walking around, and they was doing their calls, and I remember saying like, damn, what is this about? Because we don't have that at Lincoln. But I always loved that it gave me a sense of like, we're bigger than the letters. You know what I mean? We make the letters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm big on that. Like I love my letters and everything, but I'm very big on like what can I bring to the frat versus what can the frat can do for me. You know what I mean? So when I seen them, they seemed like they was the type of guys I was like. They was bigger than what they were the frat, and they not bigger than the frat, but most of they just bring something to the frat. And you don't really have to. They didn't really have to say. They didn't have to rep it, but they was just repping it based on how they move, how they carry themselves. So that was like my first view, and I loved it, keeping it real.
So you get down, you cross. What becomes the ideation? And this is one of the things that I love about your younger generation, for me, but it's about the innovation. It's about really being entrepreneurs. I'm thinking about your line specifically, which is probably, my favorite line.
That means a lot. That means a lot.
Whether it be you, Ed, June, C-Jack, Aaron's doing his thing. Both Aarons. You got two Aarons on there, right? Dano, you know what I mean? Living his dream. How did you come across, or how did that you get where you say, okay, I'm going to do this, meaning your brand? Let me talk about Visionary Society.
Yeah. So I feel like even growing up, first when I moved to the U.S., I was always into like, I guess putting outfits together. I feel like everybody kind of like liked how I dressed. I had a very unique style to a lot of things. And one thing I learned is when you don't speak the language, when you've moved to a country, I've noticed that the outfits I used to put together was a conversation starter. Like, especially you don't speak the language and a random guy sees you and like, oh, I like your jacket. And I was using my outfits as a way to like fit in a little bit because I didn't speak the language. So I guess the cooler kids in high school like, see, I got some cool sneakers, and I would start a conversation like that. So that was like my first kind of number one thing that I guess my introduction to fashion. But I didn't know much about fashion. But then as I got older, like I always been into like I'm into typography. That's like my number one hobby. I feel like the most basic word could look really good in the right font. So I study a lot of fonts. So I may walk around. I'm in Baltimore right now. I may see different signs. I may get inspired by seeing a old bar sign. I may just play it off with it and play it and see what it looks like with the different letters. But so typography was a big thing that kind of got my attention a little bit. And then I kind of was just passionate. People were telling me like, yo, you should try it out, you should try it out. And it was like a try and everything. Funny thing, I started making Kappa apparel first before I started making
That was your first thing?
First thing. People know, I started making Kappa apparel. I was making stuff for my line brothers. And then I remember we made some jerseys that was called, it was like Believe the Hype. And it was like kind of like for Kappas and everything. And it kind of started blowing up. Like I remember we were shipping stuff to Kappas in Connecticut, in Kansas, and Cali. It was legit growing bigger. And I just put it online and the Kappas really loved it. But I seen myself being very limited because only Kappas could buy it.
Yeah.
I wanted something I think my mindset, one of my brand models in Visionary Society is we all can relate. So everything that we do is like in a society, and we all relate to the same thing. You know what I mean? I think it's so. I wanted to I think my brand is very relatable. I think that's what separates us from a lot of different brands. We're community-based brand, and we're very relatable. I think you see the clothes and the type of things that we talk about. I think you relate to it, and then the quality alone is gonna get you. But then when you really see what we stand for, I think it's really something that separates us from a lot of different brands. So
I want to get to that, right? So then you graduate.
Yes.
You got your degree. But what made you say, fuck it, I'm going all in and I'm an entrepreneur and this is how I'm going to live?
I think it was more so like just reading and seeing other people, and like I think I had that mindset. I think my father kind of was like a go-getter, so he's like that's what inspires me, and I've seen him kind of just take his family from nowhere to where they at now. And there's no shade to people that work a 9 to 5, but I feel like it's either you're working for somebody's dream or you're building your own dream. So that's kind of how I looked at it. But I do think sometimes you gotta work you gotta do certain things to get you where you want to be. So it's like life is all about sacrifices. Sometimes you gotta make those sacrifices for X amount of time to get you where you want to be. So it was more so I really believed in myself. I felt like I built a really strong network throughout my life. Of just I link in just a college from like the New York to the DMV to Philly to California. I built a really dope network over the years, and then I truly believe in my ideas. I feel like I always tell people that nobody see things how you see it. I feel like you have a certain view and you see things how you see it, and I see things how I see, and that's what separates us. You know what I mean? So it's about finding that crowd that you see your vision. And I went to college. I went to YouTube University. I started saying I had like these dope ideas. I used to go to a lot of like graphic designers, but they could never put my ideas together. Like I think it's very hard for people to really understand your idea because it's your own ideas. So I went on YouTube and I started teaching myself how to do Photoshop, Illustrator, like putting ideas together. And
so you're doing all that yourself?
From the beginning. Now I still probably do a lot of. I would say probably like 70% of it, but now like I do like to go to professionals. Like I have an idea, I go to a professional to put it together. But the first couple of designs, like Photoshop, everything was pretty much 100% me. So I was like kind of like teaching myself. And then I was putting it together. I got in touch with some manufacturers overseas. So now you're able to put some quality products with some good designs. You know what I mean? I think that's the number one thing. I'm very big on, if you wear a hoodie, a jacket, or pants for me, I want you to be able to wear it 10 years from now, and it's still cool and it still fits you good. And the quality is good. I think that's the lane that I want to be in. And
talk through that. If we had to crystallize and make it salient, a couple different points that separates visionary society, particularly, the clothing.
Yes.
I think it's beyond the clothing.
100%.
It's ideology,
yes,
right? Of how you see your worldview.
100%.
Right? Like what separates it from everybody? Because everyone's like dropping some shit off, right? Like, so I remember, like, for me, it was something when, you had like Russell Simmons was dropping Fat Farm back in the day. Hopefully it doesn't get me banned, but Diddy was dropping Sean John, right? Right? You had Rockaware, you know what I mean? G-Unit dropped, like everybody had a line, but it was, to me, really about the quality of the clothes.
And I think it's so the quality of the clothes is definitely what separates you, but I also think now is we're in a point where a lot of customers care about the story. I feel like people do like, now I do think anybody can make cool clothes. I think anybody can make the coolest clothes in the world, and it's like, there's so many resources now. I think people really care about like what your brand is about. I think that's what we built in New York. We built something very organic. I think it's very, we built like a community aspect, you know what I mean? And we have a nonprofit side of our brand that we're building up. It's called For a Better Society. So it's Visionary Society For a Better Society, nonprofit side. But I think it's also, we just a brand that was always there when for example, when COVID happened, we found a way to donate some masks. You know what I mean? Like, our customers was buying clothes for us for X amount of time. We found a way to buy some masks and donate some masks to some of the customers and the people in New York City. So I think it's just the one hand wash the other. Like, our customers help us, but then we find a way to just provide things for our customers. We've done some workshops on how to build a brand. You know what I mean? How to build a brand 101, because I think it's a lane for everybody to grow. You know what I mean? But I think it's we're building a bigger umbrella as a brand that's just a community for all kind of creators. I think that's the main thing the main focus for our nonprofit is actually for minority creatives. Because I think it's a lot of minority creatives, and I grew up in an African home, and it's very, my parents always looked at it, either you gotta be a doctor, a scientist, or a lawyer, you get what I mean? So being a creative is not really like the norm, and I think you could easily get shut down, like, 'cause it's not the norm. So I want to build something that's like, there's a lot of minority creators that are very creative that just don't have the resources, you know what I mean? So I want to be able to provide those kind of things and show them that it's more of us that look like that, you know what I mean? Because because you live based upon your business. 100%.
100%. What has been the biggest challenge as a young entrepreneur?
People ask me that all the time, and it's 100% the business aspect. Because I feel like at first I was, when I started making clothes, I was just making clothes because it was dope. You know what I mean? Making clothes, people like the clothes, and I want to make cool stuff. But it's a lot of things that comes with the business aspect, like your customers, your emails, your taxes, your like building, and then now you have
margin.
The margin. You got people that work under your company now, and you also got to pay them, and it's just a lot of different things that I had to learn as I go. And it's like literally like a trial and error. Like I've dealt with a lot of things. I tell them all the time. People see it, and they probably think it's all great things, and they see a lot of, like, we've done some dope collabs with HBO, Adidas. We have a lot of celebrities wearing it, but it's a lot of ups and downs. You know what I mean? It's a lot of trial and error, it's a lot of learning, it's a lot of, like, I legit learn as I go, keeping it real.
That shit ain't for everybody.
Oh, I promise you, it's definitely not for everybody. It's not for the weak. And if people say all the time, if you become an entrepreneur, you gotta have a really strong spiritual side, I tell people, because you gotta have a lot of faith. You know what I mean?
I think one of the things that I'm putting out now, right? So for me, I took a $150,000 investment, right, 15 years ago.
Yes.
And now my company is valued at $15 million.
That's a blessing right there.
I flipped the shit 100 times. And I didn't understand that until I really started looking at the math. And it doesn't happen, right? But what they don't see is the sleepless nights, the bills not being paid, you know what I mean? Me being hungry, the sacrifices, the getting on a flight, the getting on a train at the last minute. People think your schedule is really your schedule. It's really not your schedule and stuff like that. So I came up with these things. I'm gonna be dropping it in February. I was able to trademark The Grind is Real, right?
Wow, I like that.
Yeah, 10 principles of hustling.
I like that a lot.
You know what I mean? But like, so what are some like 3 or 4 salient things that you would leave to even younger entrepreneurs that they have to stay true to?
Always believe in yourself, number one. I think it's As easy as your brand grow, your customer's gonna tell you a lot of things on how to do this, how to do that. But you built your brand for yourself. You know what I mean? You got on not for your you build it for the world, but your ideas is your ideas are your ideas. You know what I mean? So believing in yourself, because you could social media could easily make you believe in you're not doing the right thing, and you comparing yourself to this and that. You start comparing yourself to other people. So like really believe in yourself and don't compare. Like your lane is your lane. And also something I had to learn too is your physical and mental health is the most important thing. You know what I mean? Like so you could build a brand and everything. And I did that was building my brand, was making money and everything. But you forget to take care of yourself. And I had to realize that when I'm not at my best self, my brand doesn't grow. You know what I mean? No matter how big your brand is. So anybody that's want to get into that lane, really understand that you got to make some time for yourself because you're going to eventually get some kind of burnouts, fatigue. Life happens. You know what I mean? And you really got to make sure that you have that strong mental and physical aspect. So I think that's two things that's very important.
Give me one more. Give us one more.
Another thing I'll say, let me see, trust in your network. I think it's sometimes we're really big on thinking that you need somebody with, I don't know, crazy amount of followers. You'd be surprised how many people I went to college with, like my direct circle in college, that could help me take me to the next level, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of people in your direct circle that could help you, but it's about putting them in a position to help you, you know what I mean? I think sometimes like knowing your lane and knowing your role plays a big factor. So
you know what's interesting is, and this is one of the things that made me that's endearing to your line, is if we just thought about like Epsilon, right? From you can go 30 years back. If everyone just bought a T-shirt from you or a jacket, right? What the change that would make?
Oh, right? that was just like a game changer. Like
it's not. But I saw your LBs. I always used to see like, damn, like I would like. The first one was like Ant, and then Dano. I'm like, yo, what the hell are you getting? Like, yo,
it was like, I'm talking. It was like, I tell you
early on, like this is like 10 years. I'm like, yo, what the heck? Like they would always be rocking some of your shit.
I mean, that's why I always say we built a really organic thing because it's like they promoted the brand for myself all the time. They liked the product, they bought it, they got a good product, and they wanted more. And it's like them telling their friends and everything helps my business more than anything. You know what I mean? And some people don't really understand. That's why I always say it's very important to support your friends and people that's in your direct circle. Because
and we need to do that more. Like there is an organic network that we can leverage each other's.
That's right? Like it's really, I think all other races do it. Yep. I think it's mainly like when it comes to us, sometimes I think we tend to think that we in competition with each other sometimes, but it's really a lot of strength in numbers. I don't even want to sound like very cliche, but it's a lot of strength in numbers, and then we have everything we need in our circle, keeping it real with you.
Absolutely. So. First of all, you're always sold out, right? Which is a good thing, right? But where can people go to get your stuff?
So visionarysociety.co is our main website, but so right now we took a little break from the website. We're getting back on it. I think the main thing that we're trying to do is we're building capital so that being sold out is good, but it's also we want to have more products.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's more so like we really built a business from like a really small team, and now we at a point like we have the numbers and we want to show those companies and how we could leverage some kind of capital. Okay. So we could make more stuff. So that's like legit the lane that we're in right now. But visionarysociety.co is our main website. Visionary Society on Instagram, and if email list probably get a lot of like early arrival kind of stuff. So like we do a lot of email blasts and that kind of thing.
Are you still doing the pop-ups?
100%. So the pop-ups I think is what really like that's what got us started. I think that's what people love. Like when we do the pop-ups, we're gonna be in New York City and we're gonna, let's say, rent out a store for 2 days. It forces the customers that if I don't make those 2 days, I'm not gonna get it. So it builds a rush. You get what I mean? So that's the pop-up is always gonna be a dope thing. We done some stuff and COVID kind of slowed us down a little bit because we was doing a lot more before COVID. We was thinking about getting back into that like a lot more. But we did New York, we did Philly, we done DC.
So yeah,
we've done one in Cali. We've done So we're looking at Houston as well. But we've done a lot of different things, and it's a great way to get more customers. Keeping it real with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Brother, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for making the sacrifice to come down. It's not always easy to do. I believe in you. I support you. Dio, what you're doing is amazing. Let's keep grinding, good brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, though. Seriously.
Absolutely.
You're ready.
I want to thank you for joining us for another episode of One Door at a Time, Concentric Educational Solutions Podcast. I want to thank, again, my sponsors, Mercedes-Benz of Catonsville. Again, thanks for the clean S580, Sam. I appreciate it. And Atlas Restaurant Group, you can catch them in all their fine dining all throughout throughout Maryland, in Philadelphia, as well as Houston, Miami. Until next time, you can catch all of our content on concentricworld.com. I'm your host, David Heiber. See you next time.
Let's get it.